All right, friends, we're going to go a little bit out of order today, but for good reason. I am excited to introduce you to a good friend and a young lady who has been through a lot recently in the name of life. So Madison Gesiotto, come join me. Madison may be familiar. She's Ohio's 2014 Miss Ohio. She is a graduate of The Ohio State University, and she is in her second year at The Ohio State University School of Law. She also happens to write an article for the Washington Times and dares to have something called conservative values in this day and age. And in October, she wrote an article in the Washington Times that some folks didn't like because it defended life. And I'm going to let her tell you her story. But I just want to thank her so much for having the courage and the conviction to join here. Her family's coming down to support her. And I ask that in the coming days and weeks, you keep her in your prayers. And know too, she was so excited to be here. Woke up yesterday with a 102-degree fever and strep throat, and is still here today because this issue and you all are so important to her. So let's welcome Madison.
Thank you, Beth, for that very kind introduction. I see quite a few familiar faces out there, but for those of you who don't know me, as Beth said, my name is Madison Gesiotto. I'm a 2014 graduate of The Ohio State University, a second-year law student at the Moritz College of Law, a weekly columnist for the Washington Times, and a former Miss Ohio. I'm Catholic, I'm conservative, I'm an American, I'm a pro-life woman, and I am proud. For as long as I can remember, I have always been a supporter of life. I believe that life begins at conception and ends at natural death, a scientific fact that I found is not very popular on a lot of college campuses today. Now, my ancestors immigrated from Italy and Hungary in the 1900s to chase the American dream. They left their homes and crossed land and sea to experience the unparalleled freedoms that we have here in the United States of America, a country where every citizen has the right to freedom of speech and freedom of religion. But less than 100 years later, to my ancestors' dismay, I have been busy defending my rights against attacks after writing a very important column in the Washington Times about an issue that I feel is very relevant in today's society, and that's abortion in the Black community. This past October, when searching through statistics in the CDC's website, I found some astonishing information leading to the publication of my column, The #1 Killer of Black Americans. Now, it wasn't heart disease, it wasn't motor vehicle accidents, it wasn't homicide, it wasn't cancer. In fact, the #1 killer of Black Americans was and still is abortion. After the publication of my column, posts, comments, attacks started pouring in online. Many classmates quickly characterized me as a racist and a dim-witted gender traitor. Others engaged in personal attacks instead of seeing me as someone who cared about the lives of the unborn. They saw me as someone who wanted to control women and take away their rights. After an abundance of bullying and the receipt of multiple threats, I went to my law school administrators. I expected to be treated with respect and to have my safety concern not only addressed efficiently, but to be taken seriously. However, instead of practicing tolerance for my views and simply looking into the concern, the administrators lectured me on how my faith-based beliefs on abortion could harm my legal career or my ability to write as an editor for the Ohio State's Journal of Criminal Law. They picked apart my article line by line as I sat there visibly upset and in disbelief. Rather than practicing acceptance, they added to the bullying that pro-life conservatives have been experiencing across this country. I am shocked and disappointed by the events, not only on my own campus, but on campuses nationwide. Name-calling and bullying have become central tactics on the left's campaign to attack pro-life conservatives. Instead of arguing on the merits and the scientific facts, those whose beliefs aren't in line with ours, those whose beliefs are in line with the settled liberal worldview, attempt to delegitimize pro-lifers by branding them as racist, bigots, and misogynists. They claim to be proponents of diversity, but they continually oppose diversity of thought and belief. Now, It's important to note that what I discussed in my column is not something new. It's something that's been discussed before by leaders across the world, including Pope Francis, who recently reaffirmed abortion as the taking of a human life that constitutes sin, as well as influential Black American leaders such as former Ohio Secretary of State Kenneth Blackwell and current GOP presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson. Even as a second-year law student, I knew that my views discussed in my Washington Times column were expressions of my faith and free speech guaranteed to me under the First Amendment. And despite continued attacks, I continued and will continue to write about pro-life issues, and I will not back down in the name of political correctness and religious intolerance. The hardest things and the right things are oftentimes the same things, which is why it's important that we never back down. I had the courage to stand up for life, and I know that through each and every pro-life supporter here in Central Ohio and the work of amazing organizations like Greater Columbus Right to Life, Ohio Right to Life, and Concerned Women for America, we will see the changes we have been working for. In 2014, Central Ohio led the state in the reduction of abortion with over 800 less abortions than in 2013, accounting for over 40% of the statewide reduction in abortions. These statistics are incredible, and I challenge each and every one of you to continue standing strong to protect the lives of the unborn, because together we will see the difference we have been working for. Thank you.